What's up? I'm here with Tyler and Sekou Andrews.
Yeah.
And Seykou is somebody who is an amazing public speaker. He teaches public speaking. He has a new program coming out. Tell us about it. What's it called?
The program is Rockstar Secrets for Public Speakers, and I'm basically helping people to be mighty on stage and to be able to engage and ignite their story, engage any audience, and most importantly, be their authentic self in front of any crowd.
And I want Tyler here as well because he is an example of being a rock star speaker.
Yeah.
You know, and this guy here.
And he's got the leather jacket too. So
yeah, he's got the jacket. What's your quote about the jacket? So you have a quote about the jacket, I heard, right? You don't remember this? No, never mind. Forget about the quote about the jacket.
He just spews quotes.
About the jacket.
He just spews quotes. He can't keep track
you had the
of
funniest.
them,
You had the funniest quote about the jacket.
Was it? About the jacket?
Yeah, the funniest quote ever.
When?
It was, I can tell you, okay, because I just freaking met him, but I can tell you, it was, anybody can fake a watch, but you can't fake a good jacket.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Represent.
Yeah, that was it. Jeez.
And I just met you.
You just
That's how
it's
good
like,
I am.
like, what's the quote about the shower curtain? I'm like, dude, come on.
What did you have that $10,000 Tyler Durden jacket?
Which
So
one?
it's like the thing.
I don't remember the quote though.
No, because
No.
you're talking about that. I was like, dude, what
Shit.
the hell? He's got
no,
the
it's a lot
jacket
of
in the
quotes.
movie Fight Club.
I think Nick also kind of like lives like in this like continual reality. Like he'll talk about accomplishments from Boy Scouts like it was yesterday. He does this all the time. Like I'll be
I'm
like,
an
"Dude,
Eagle
we're gonna go to,
Scout."
I'll be like, we're gonna go to this hike. I'll be like, Nick, you're not ready. You're not physically ready for it. He's like, in Eagle Scouts, I hiked this amount. I'm like, dude, that was 20 years ago. So he did.
Yeah, I guess I've time lapsed myself.
he does,
and
he
I'm
does.
I'm still in that lapse right now. So I'm just
right.
floating through time.
He does.
You know,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, the thing is, I think it's really awesome to have someone who could teach public speaking in a very unique way. So one of the things that I'm working on that Todd has agreed to do, but he has no idea what I've created. But this guy here has been helping me out with it, is that we're creating a music hip-hop video on an epic proportional level. And this guy actually will teach the same concepts in terms of rhythm, rhyme, presentation, building your brand, and projecting that powerful image and doing it in spoken word, because you're like a champion of spoken word.
Yeah.
You've been invited through your clients like Nike and Oprah and spoken in front of Obama and all these really interesting people.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting you at Summit Series briefly, and then we got closer through Larry Benet's saying, and now you're here at the mansion teaching me rhyme, rhythm, and hip hop, and the choreography of creating this presence of how to make an awesome music video. I think it's epic. I remember seeing, what inspired me was I saw you do a speech about rhythm and rhyme and the power of money and presence. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen somebody deliver an inspirational business speech where the whole thing rhymed as if I was watching a very powerful 60-minute hip-hop presentation. So I'm a huge fan. This guy's a huge fan of hip-hop. And I've been doing interviews with the guys who've been representing 50 Cent, the CEO of Hip Hop DX. I'm really a fan of the power of hip-hop. We recently also just did an interview with Nicole Arbor, who's an amazing hip-hop artist who you know as well.
That's right.
Yeah,
I've got a video coming up.
Yeah, I'm super excited about all this.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the things about you is that although you've been doing this on such a high level for, say, large corporations and business entities and CEOs, you're about to kind of go into the B2C market and actually kind of affect the general public, which is something that we've been doing. We're actually trying to do the exact opposite. Yeah. Go from the B2C thing that we're really good at and try to get more into the B2B. So we're kind of like switching roles here.
Yeah. And for me, it's really a return to B2C, because if you think about it, like I started off in spoken word, right? Mm-hmm. So I was chasing hip hop, I was chasing acting, I was pursuing law, I was going, go to law school. I quit that, became an elementary school 5th grade teacher.
Did you actually go through the LSATs?
No. I worked in about 3 different law firms, and then the thing was, I was like, I was going to do entertainment law as a backup to being an entertainer. And then you start working enough law firms, you can kind of like, law's not really a backup. Kind of a commitment, you know what I mean? And so I was like, and plus, I don't want to be the bitter attorney negotiating deals that I wish I had, you know what I mean? Like, that's cool, but check out my demo, you know what I mean? So I was like, let me just pursue what it is that I really want to pursue, And so I taught 5th grade for a while, it was like my waiter actor job, you know what I mean? It gave me some freedom when I was substitute teaching, ended up doing full-time teaching. But then I was going to spoken word venues, like pursuing hip hop. Like the multi-billion-dollar industry of hip-hop. And then somewhere along the way, I fell in love with spoken word. Like, I love just being appreciated just for my words. I didn't have to worry about the hook and the beat and the remix and all the politics and whether I was talking enough bling or girls or whatever. And so then it was like, well, damn, what the hell am I going to do with this? Like, I'm leaving this multi-billion-dollar industry for like, what, a multi-$100 industry for spoken word? Like, the industry's non-existent. But the entrepreneur in me kind of got excited about pushing my voice into a new space. You know, like actually blazing new trails instead of like chasing after the crumbs that everybody else was chasing in that industry. So that got exciting to me, like to just this uncharted terrain of just going, what can I do with spoken word? And then that's what led me to actually, the entrepreneur in me was like, well, what if I start taking spoken word into some new industries, some new areas where it doesn't exist. The traditional trajectory for a spoken word artist is like, you're selling your CDs at clubs and cafes, you're traveling the country doing that thing, you come home with your rent and cash, and that's what my life was. It was B2C in that way, very live, organic, Then when I started working with businesses, then everything went internal and it was all B2B, but that's what led me to go, this is a new audience where I can create a new user experience for them. And that's what led me to actually create Poetic Voice as a speaking category. But then all my fans were like, where the hell is Seykou? So now this is sort of like, I'm moving into this return where now I'm taking all this knowledge, all this intellectual capital that I've gained from being able to inspire everyone from an Oprah and a Barack Obama to a Google and a Nike to book authors and entrepreneurs, and speaking on any stage and being able to level any stage and saying, now let me bring that back to the people and show them how to level any stage that they're on.
I think that when I see you on stage, it is definitely very motivating. I think a lot of it has to do with inspiration. Mm-hmm. Yet at the same time, I think that you just have a very deep understanding of how to present the brand, how to speak, how to say the right words, and how. Could you go deeper into some of those tips that you share?
Yeah. So, a big part of it is really being able to find out who you are authentically and being unafraid to be your authentic self. That's probably one of the things that I work on most with people. I've been training high-level CEOs and VPs and executives for years, dude. And like the biggest challenge that they have is how can I be my most authentic self, be true to myself on stage and still be engaging and powerful. And part of the problem is that they misplace the value. They think their value is in their credentials, their authority, and I'm like, I work with CEOs that feel like they have to get on stage and prove that they're CEO. And I go like, nobody came here to hear you prove that you're CEO. Like, they came here to hear you move them and inspire them and transform the room and let them know that they are in the right place, that they're with the right team, that this is the right product, that this is the right community or the right cause, whatever that message is. Like, move the human parts of them, And so I have to just remind them that if you're trying to connect with a human being, the best way to connect with a human being is to first be a human being. You stand up on stage as a human being, tell your stories, be vulnerable, allow yourself to break those walls, connect with somebody on an actual human level, and trust that if you can embed your information and your data into those moments, it's stickier, it's more moving, it's more memorable than if you just give them the data and go, basically, here's my business card, here's the bullet points from the conference, and that lets you know that you're in the right place. No, that just lets me know that you got a fancy business card.
That's very true.
Okay, so I'd love to correlate some of that to our audience.
Yeah.
The first one, okay, so this is sort of an interesting one, is the idea of being yourself. And so I think that's can often be for some people can be very misunderstood. So so you can go in different directions with that, right? So you can go in so the direction you could go in is there's a guy who watches football on the couch while being overweight, while eating Cheetos, drinking beer, and he thinks that by being himself, he's going to, conquer the world. And they should really value him, for his unique desire to eat potato chips and watch football and play video games and do nothing, and that people should value because that's him, right? That's who he is, and he identifies with that. Okay, so being yourself on one level, that can become a huge excuse. It can also be a trap socially, to where it's almost like the elite's way of fooling the have-nots into just staying as a have-not. Just be yourself. It's all gonna work out. just keep doing that. And
got you. That's what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying, right? So not that I'm trying to, indulge some conspiracy theory here, but there's this element to where it creates a lot of social stability. The idea of just be yourself, just everybody could just be themselves, everything would work. And it's like, no, it would just be smoother for you because nobody's changing or upgrading themselves. Now that's to where it can be, viewed in the negative. Now in the positive would be, there's a guy named John Maxwell who you might have read. No? Okay, so he's amazing. He does leadership books. He's incredible. Okay. So he talks a lot about your strength zone. And for example, like me with Real Social Dynamics, if I'm doing public speaking, marketing, video creation, coaching, or, we teach dating advice. So if I'm showing guys how to meet girls, I'm showing it live. Those are my areas where I can contribute the most value. That's me being myself. I can help with accounting. I can move it forward, but, I'm never going to be that accountant I've met accountants who will sit there and talk about accounting the way that we'll all talk about our respective areas. These people are brilliant. Their mind just sees those numbers and just goes like that, and they see it. So that's that's a positive of being yourself, right? Just like if that accountant tried to do, say, spoken word, they could learn it, but it'd be hard to compete with yourself. I mean, they could learn it, but they'd have to be deeply, deeply passionate about it. And so there's where the being yourself helps. Now also, there's sort of like, in my mind, there's like this ting of authenticity, where when somebody's really speaking in a congruent way, the message penetrates about 1,000 times more deeply, because the human mind is seeking out incongruencies. It's like, where's the incongruency? Where is it? I'm looking for it. And the slightest little sheen of a surface level persona, people see it and they're not going to let it in that deep, right? People wish it would. Like, I wish I could just put my little persona and then they just get the message that I want them to get. Yeah. But people have a very, 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 very high bullshit detector. In dating advice, women have a crazy high bullshit detector. Right. Yeah. So in fact, the more that you're not being yourself, the more that you're actually delaying you and that girl connecting. You're delaying it massively, because the girl's like, I might like you, but why can't you just act like yourself so I can make a choice? Yeah. And you're like, yeah, girl, right? And it's just like delaying things. Yeah. So there's like the two sides of it. Like what we'll teach with our audience is, one side of it is, don't be yourself. Like, you sitting at home whacking off and crying, right, that sucks. And they're like, but I just want to be myself. I'm just gonna sit here crying into my hand as lubricant. And then the other side of it is like, yeah, but then they go out and they try to put on a persona and we're like, dude, be yourself. Right, yeah. So that's the two sides of it.
I also feel like, so yeah, there's multiple
there. You're like,
because we're in different worlds, right?
Course, yeah.
So when you're talking about being, there's being the best and the worst of yourself, right? So if like, I can sit back and be like, I'm going to be the worst of myself, and then I'm going to get the worst results. We know our best selves and our worst selves, and those are both authentic to us. A lot of times we can get wrapped up into our worst selves, right? Our worst selves is, I'm a slob, I'm watching TV with the chips and the fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the worst of me. You know what I mean? Like, that was just like crying into my, what did you say? Crying into my lubricant?
Crying into my hand is lubricant, yes.
That's right. Remember that quote.
That was a new one.
That's a new one. Yeah, they'll put that down. You'll ask for that quote in the next interview. He won't remember it. He won't remember it. But he'll tell you about the jacket, though. He'll tell you about the jacket.
I did a great about the jacket.
That's right. So I feel like, that's part of it. When you're, Part of the problem is that when then you step on stage, because that's one-to-one, right? But when we step on stage one-to-many, in any kind of one-to-many conversation, a lot of times we put on this persona that we think is the best. We put on this persona that we say, this is what you want to hear, right? And I'm sure that you can relate to this in the dating world, where this is what I think a woman wants to see from me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we do that same thing on stage. This is what the audience, I believe that this is what they're going to value. And so what I'm telling them is the same thing you're telling the person that's talking to the lady. Like, she wants to see you. Let her decide based off of who you are. Now, don't show her the worst of you, because that's not what you're aspiring to. Nobody wants to see the worst. I don't want to see the worst of you any more than you want to look in the mirror and see the worst of you. You know what I mean? But as you look in the mirror and you see the best of you, and you see what you're aspiring to, what you know is true about you, show that to yourself, show that to the world, show that to your audience, because that audience is looking for the best of themselves. And so if they can see the best of you, and you standing proudly and shining in the best of you and what you're aspiring to be, and that doesn't mean you're only showing, like, you're filtering. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling your sloppy stories. You're telling your horrible, like, your life defining moments, whether they were in your greatness or in your depths. Like, you're sharing that, but you're not being the worst of yourself. And I think if you can be authentically that audience says, that's cool. I love that they were able to stand up there in all their quirkiness, in all their, like what you talked about in terms of like, when I'm passionate and I talk loud or whatever, this is who I really am, and all of you are like, this is my linear self, whatever that is. If it's the accountant that says I want to write a poem, then write a poem about accounting. You know what I mean? Like, don't write a poem about something that you're not passionate about. If you want to explore, you want to move into a different space, bring you into it. And that's what I'm working with speakers to say, if you're a gymnast, if you're a freaking mime, if you're a mother of 10, whatever it is, stand on stage, tell your stories, find a way to tie them into the universal collective story, find a way to tie them into your message, into your content, but bring you into it instead of trying to be this persona that you think everyone wants to be, because that's what they saw from the other 15 people before you and the other 15 people after you, and you will be just as unmemorable as the rest of them.
That's amazing. I've seen it for years when you see with public speaking, and you'll see newer speakers go up and they kind of put on what they think they're supposed to be. Yeah. And then when a more experienced speaker comes up and they're just kind of relaxed, the whole audience is just like,
Yeah. And it's inspiring when you can see somebody be yourself in the same way that a woman loves to be able to sit back and go, like when you think about confidence in men, right? Women love confidence in men. Audiences love confidence in speakers. Mm-hmm. We want to see somebody that's like, hey, this is me. Take it or leave it. If you want me, I'll be over here. Now I believe that you're gonna have a ball with me. I'm gonna have a ball with me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have fun at the party regardless of whether I leave home with you or not.
And that's actually the hardest thing to train into our guys, because we say to them, like, it's okay, like, you're not trying to get every girl. Right. Be you, but in the way that we describe here, because the problem is that we say be you, and then we get back into that quagmire that we said, well, me is lacking, and you're just like, okay, like, just come on. So basically, be you, and let the chips fall where they may. And the reason why that's powerful in the dating stuff is because what winds up happening is the guy might have only a third of girls really into him. Mm-hmm. And then another third just think he's kind of dumb, and then a third just kind of has a neutral response. But that one third is so into that guy, because what winds up happening is they're like, wow, he's so relaxed, and they can quickly get a sense of who he is. Yeah. So if you can be okay with that, if you can be okay with losing some people or getting even a neutral response, you're gonna get this really powerful response from the people that you're meant to connect with.
That's right. And ultimately, you want someone to like you for who you are anyway. So you want at date 5 to not have to be like, all right, well, I'm about to give her the big reveal. You know what I mean? Like, you want the reveal to come in word 1 and not date 5 or date 10. And it's the same way with, whether you're speaking in a boardroom or speaking to your team or your staff, or you're speaking at, a job interview or whatever it is. It's like, so the job interview is a perfect example. Like, you don't go to a job interview and bring the worst of you. You know what I mean? But you also don't want to go to a job interview and be so inauthentic that you dupe them. Because that creates more resentment, and then you're getting fired, and people are trying to figure out how to get rid of you. So you go to a job interview, you say, I'm going to show you the best of me, but I'm also going to show you who I am. It's going to be the best of the real me, And in this situation, I want to be here, I want to love this job, and I want you to love me for it. So if you leave me, then I can say this wasn't the right job for me. And if you take me, then I can say you were truly taking me, because you hired me who I was in that interview, And now I'm not going to go to the job interview as that guy.
Oh God, we have a theme now.
Yeah, like you started it. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to go to an interview as that guy, but I am going to go as the best of me, And I may not be suit wearing. I put on a suit every 5 days a week or whatever. But I might, I'm gonna get dressed up. I'm gonna throw on a tie for this one. I'm gonna show you that I can step up and play the game and be professional and so forth. But I'm also gonna make the jokes. I'm gonna laugh if you make the joke about that guy, then I'm gonna continue the theme. Then I'm gonna let you know, like, hey, this is we can play. I'm comfortable in the room. Like, this is not
that's why, like, even in our talk here, because we're just meeting, that, like, sometimes while I'll make little jokes like that is actually because I try to make a very free zone where people don't feel like they have to be Right, like that. So I'll do that, like, almost every environment I go into, I start clowning quickly so people loosen up.
That's right.
Because I start to get when everybody's kind of in their persona, I get tense.
Yeah.
And then I get in my persona, and then it starts dragging me into this weird behavior. Then after, I'm like, what am I doing? So I just try to get everybody loose quick.
When I'm teaching speakers, I call them communication calibrators, right? And I say that in the first 2 minutes of any speech, you can do two things. You can let the audience know who you are as a speaker, and you can find out who they are as an audience. And you do that through through techniques, through very specific things, making a bold statement, using surprise, using drama, using some remedial ones like estate change, getting them to say something, humor are some of the easy ones, using some advanced ones like friction. I love friction. I'll go in and make a bold statement that is exactly the opposite of what everyone is here for at the very beginning of the speech. Because the immediate reaction is, because if you think about what disengagement looks like, it looks like this, right? And engagement looks like this, right? And so when I make that friction statement, they go from, hold on, what did you just say?
You're real life clickbaiting them.
Right.
You know what clickbait is on the internet?
Yeah.
So you're real life
right.
clickbaiting them.
That's
Have you
right.
ever, this is
Exactly.
sort of random, have you happened to ever read the book Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins?
No.
Okay, so the idea of it, they talk about different states of consciousness, and the majority of people are stuck in apathy, and the next level up is actually anger or outrage. So typically, like, you're not going to get someone from apathy to like peace,
right.
joy, and
That's right.
enlightenment. Like, they're like apathetic and all of a sudden like, but you can get them from this like, what?
That's right. Ignite something in them, trigger something, and then reverse it. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very powerful. And so that's that same thing. The same thing you're doing in this environment to crack it open is the same thing you want to do with any audience. Crack them open. Here's who I am. Here's the experience you're about to have. Let me know who you are. Now, if I know that you're not a laughing audience, then I know how to deliver my humor and my jokes so that I'm not surprised in minute 9 that no one laughed and I'm thrown off. And if I come out and I'm dynamic and animated and so forth, you know that the party is about to get started. So you guys better wake up. Get with the program because Seykou's on the stage and this is how it's going down. And we meet each other in the middle and we have a collective experience.
It's amazing. How would you describe the experience of getting out of your own way and getting into the flow? And when something just sort of takes over, I would have to imagine you feel that way because almost everybody at a high level does.
Oh man, that zone.
I'll tell you an experience I had.
Yeah, please.
So I was trying to shoot a video, and we got out to this location where I thought it'd be really fun to shoot, but the sun was coming down. And I was like, shit, the sun's gonna come down in maybe like 15, 20 minutes. And oh God, I'm not sure if I have my content ready, right? And so I kept kind of scrambling to think of some content quickly. And then I realized what I was doing. I was like, God, this is exactly what I teach people not to do. This is exactly how I don't do my seminars, which is I'm wanting it too much. So I just kind of have to just be like almost like, sorry for dragging this out for you guys, but and then just like, okay, and then just start talking.
Yeah.
You just start talking. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Let go of the outcome. Just start talking. Just let it start to come to you. And then you feel it like inhabit you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you don't have to think of what to say anymore.
Yeah.
You just have to stay out of his fucking way. But then as soon as you get back in his way, bam, it stops. Right, so that's my experience of it. Like I can just talk for hours, but the challenge is like if I try to talk, that's a nightmare, and it's really bad. All my talks where I try to do it are the worst. They're super horrible. Usually loaded with ego, a lot of bragging, kind of a weird vibe. It just gets weird. Yeah. But if I can just get it out, all of a sudden my voice opens up. I can fill up like a 500-person room, no mic. It just start clowning. I can start singing. It just starts to flow and come out. Yeah. And so I've had to learn over the years, it's not that I really became a better speaker, it's just that I stopped getting in my own way and I just learned to let it come. Mm-hmm. So I've seen that with all the best. I saw that, I think the best example I ever saw that in my life was actually, for me, was the final Kobe Bryant game where he dropped 60 at age 37 when his body's banged up and injured. Mm-hmm. And you saw that he kept trying to score, he's trying to score, and he missed his first 5 shots, and it was pretty bad. And then all of a sudden, it was just I think he just let go, and he played the whole game, barely even took a break, and at that age, dropped 60 fucking points. And you saw him just with no energy left, just going under the basket, just throwing it behind his head and stuff like that, and it's just going in, and he's just just sinking shots. And so that's where I'm always trying to get to in my speaking, and I've still got to direct it. It's not like you just sit there and you're you direct it, but it's the difference between paddling and you're so tired versus throwing the sail up, and you still have to do the little, what's that called at the back, the rudder or whatever it is, right? You got to move the rudder, but you're still moving the rudder, you're still directing it, you know where you're going to go with it, but it's the more you get out of your own way, the more that it flows out. And I even teach this to guys on a night out of meeting girls where I get them to get out of their own way and just start talking to people, get out of their own way, and that's where I've seen it at an elite level. That's where I've seen elite level performance and any area, right? But of course, you can't just say like, if someone doesn't know anything, you're like, dude, just get out of your own way. You're gonna crush it, right? So there's an initial learning curve, and then you kind of you sort of learn, and then get out of your own way with what you've learned. Then learn more, then get out of your own way with it. And it's sort of like this process. But I was just wondering how you experienced that, or
a big part of it is, so like the experience that you're describing, I call the crumple up your speech moment, right? So we've seen all the movies where the person's about to give the big wedding speech, and they've got the speech prepared, and then they just go, and then they start speaking from the heart.
That's hilarious that you said that, by the way, because I'll go in with a couple ideas of what to say, and I'll be like, blah, 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 and then I'm just like, fuck this. Right. And then it comes out.
It's that crumple the speech moment, right? The problem is, that's delight or disaster waiting to happen, right? And the difference between the two is in how you train prior to that moment. Most of the time, people are training only focused on their content. I work with speakers all the time. I'm like, what do you do to practice? And they just go out. I just practice my speech. I rehearse. I memorize every word. I've had people say I'm going to memorize the answers to the questions in Q&A, and I'm like, but they haven't asked the questions. How do you memorize? Like, are you psychic? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to memorize all these different options and outcomes and so forth. And it's this algorithm, and it's what I call trying to control the room. Like, you're trying to control that outcome. And instead, I train people to think, so much about my Stage Mic program is training people in the techniques of performers. And so you're learning from comedians and dancers and singers, songwriters, actors. So we learn a lot from improv artists, right? And the improv artist says you don't control the room. You own the room. Like, no matter what happens, you're going to throw disaster at me. I'm going to turn it into delight. Right? So then you're training a completely different part of your brain. You're training a completely different part of your being. When I think it was you that was asking me earlier about freestyling, and do you freestyle, whatever, like that freestyle muscle to be able to train to think like no matter what, you toss a topic at me, you know what I mean? And I'm going to be able to turn that into delight. That's a muscle that never gets trained with speakers. And when you train that muscle, when you train that mentality, you're training yourself to be able to say, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm not afraid of what happens. I'm going to own what happens. So it's incredibly freeing. I also tell people to make sure that they are focusing on their ritual before they go on stage, right? I call it the rock star ritual. And it's basically saying performers have very, very specific rituals that open themselves up, that are beyond just, the actor's not just looking at their lines. There's a point when they put down their lines and say, now I've got to actually do this ritual that opens my emotions up, because these lines don't matter if I don't generate and harness very real, palpable, visceral emotion in this scene, And the dancer is saying it doesn't matter if I know the moves, if I'm not able to capture that passion and that intensity. And so there's all kinds of rituals that people do to be able to master their space. I know there's one of my actors. I had a lot of rock star friends in theater and comedy and DJs and breakdancers all send me a bunch of rituals as part of my program, and they videotape themselves. And one of them was like, I sit in every room or many of the seats in the theater, because I want this to, when I step on stage, this needs to feel like my home.
So that's actually amazing that there, I've studied that for years, actually.
Yeah.
Funny enough, what it is your brain has to see that it's like a primitive part of your brain. I call it proof, not promises. Mm-hmm. And your brain needs actual proof that you're safe in these different areas. Mm-hmm. And then once it sees that you're safe, then it'll open up. And actually, this is getting kind of crazy, but we teach a lot of this stuff.
Please.
So what I believe is that the charisma is already there in large part, but that the mind actually stifles it down, because if you don't know that you're safe in that environment, your brain is trying to prevent you from drawing attention on yourself. So if the mind could talk to you, it'd be like, Owen, don't get all this attention. You don't know who these people are. They could kill you. Yeah. You're evolved from a caveman. There was no police back then. Don't fuck with them. Yeah. But the thing is that your brain can't say that to you because it doesn't talk directly to you. Right. Some people actually theorize that our brains used to talk at us, and we thought we were hearing gods. Some people believe that. So there's it's called the theory of the bicameral mind by Jaden James. I can't remember. But anyway, so the brain can't do that. So what it does instead is it just turns down the volume on charisma. So you kind of can't think of what to say. You're just kind of like, So that way no one's going to come kill you. Right. It does it to save you. Right. It's like, chill, dude. But then if you actually go around that environment, you start talking to people, you talk to another person, nobody gets mad, everything's cool. You start to wake up a little bit. You're like, hey, well, I'm getting talking to you here, right? And then you keep, and then your brain's like, proof not promises, like, okay, right? And then it just goes up and up and up and up. So that's kind of the that ritual there. What they're doing is, in my opinion, like the way I would think about it is they're actually getting that feel for the room. You know, I've seen Russell Brand do that even in a stand-up. He just starts walking the room. And Alfonso, if you've ever seen me do this on, you listening, Alfonso? Yeah, sometimes my cameraman Alfonso, he'll see me, I'll just start walking the room, right? And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? The shots are perfect. And I'm like, I must walk the room. I don't have a choice, because if I can get on stage and my brain is cooperating, then I'm good. But sometimes I need to get more oxygen flowing in my brain, and I need to prove to my brain like it's all okay here, and then it opens up.
It's your space. It's like inviting someone into your home. Like, you're completely safe in your home. You're comfortable. It's my living room. Like, I can do no wrong here. You know what I mean? So I can make jokes, I can fall and stumble. It's my house. When you're in somebody else's house, in a stranger's house, you know what I mean? You're a lot more formal. You're careful. Can I put this here? Can I put my feet up? Can I take my shoes off? Should I sit up? Do I need a coaster? You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's the energy that you have when you bring to the stage. But when you already walk in and go, this is my house. I've already sat in every seat. I've already touched every wall. I've already touched every point of the stage. Like, I know this room. I know this space. Also knowing the audience. One of the things that I do is I'll pull the curtain back while they're watching the speaker before me, and I'll start having a conversation with the people that are in the audience. I'll start delivering my speech to them so that I'm talking, you know, if you're watching the speaker, I'll be talking to you directly. Talking to you, you know, and I'm watching your energy, and I'm watching she has a gorgeous laugh. He has a great smile. He's asleep over here. He's checking his textbooks, his text messages or his Facebook. Like, that way, when I step onto the stage, I already know you guys. I know you're the smiler. I know you're the one that's asleep. I'm gonna wake you up. I know that you're on your way out. You fidgeting like you got to go to the bathroom. It's cool. Go ahead. I'm not offended. Like, at this point, we already have a connection. There's nothing that you can do to throw me off. So therefore, I'm much more inclined to take risks. I'm much more inclined to be myself. I'm much more inclined to try different things because I'm not afraid of having to control the environment. So when you go back to that getting out of your way concept, to me, if you begin to train these other modalities, if you train your spirit and your heart and your emotions and your body, you know, one of the things I'm used to me backstage, I'm warming up like I'm getting ready to do cross training or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing squats and I'm warming up my body in ways that when speakers are sitting around hobnobbing and drinking ice water and they're getting ready to go on stage, I'm backstage like it's the freaking Olympics, because I'm going at a certain point, I may feel in the moment that I want to demonstrate what failing forward looks like, and I may want to stumble and fall, because what that's going to do is it's going to wake the audience up. It's going to trigger them. They're going to go from here to here. Oh, snap, did he just fall? Then they're like, was that real? I can't quite tell. But they're engaged, right? Well,
do you actually fall?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I'll absolutely fall. But I know that I can't trust myself to fall if I haven't warmed up my body. If I'm sitting back and thinking, if you fall, what if you hurt yourself? Or if you stumble and you accidentally do this? If I can't trust it, then I'm not going to do it. And I rob the audience, and I rob myself of being able to create that experience. And the only reason why I couldn't trust it is because I didn't train for the possibility. So then I'm in my own way. But if I can say, hey, I optimized my body, I warmed up my vehicle, I warmed up my voice, I warmed up my spirit, I warmed up my heart, I warmed up all these other aspects, I prepared for whatever comes, now I can get out of my way. Content happens, great. Content doesn't happen, great. Speech, I read masterfully, great. Crumple the speech up, speak from the heart, great. Nothing can throw me off my game because I didn't just train for the content. I trained for the whole experience.
That's amazing. You know, our audience will really love this talk too, because one of our main principles is the "it's my house" principle.
Yeah.
So our old buddy Craig Clemens, that was, you know, he used to help Evan Pagan, aka David, he goes by David D'Angelo. So Craig Clemens is amazing, and he'd always teach it like, it's my house. Like, sometimes he would even get in a venue and he'd just start being like, it's my house, and it's kind of funny how, like, just the way he did it was funny. So yeah, it's so much of that, even in what we teach, it's so built for that, because say that you're in that environment and you're meeting both guys and girls, frankly, because a big part of meeting girls is the guys think you're cool a lot of the time. You know, it doesn't have to be, or they're jealous of you and go either direction. But they're having a response of some type. And so, you know, when you feel like that's your environment, it's a beautiful thing. A lot of our guys too, they really struggle with crippling fear when they go out to a venue where they don't feel comfortable, they feel overwhelmed, they feel overstimulated. So, like a nightclub, for example, sometimes there can be a lot of music. I mean, frankly, even I can feel that way when it gets so fucking loud. I'm just like, where's my fucking earplugs in some of these ones? But the point is, like, you know, it becomes overwhelming. And so, like, so much of what I teach is actually built on a process of getting into that environment and getting really comfortable and then starting to open up in that environment. Now, what's kind of crazy, what I've seen, and it's almost like you keep climbing, and you'll hit a point where you lock in so much that even if you change environments or have a really bad response, you're so locked in the positive part that nothing will take you out that day.
That's right.
Now, on the flip side, what I've also experienced, now hopefully you haven't experienced this, but I've seen it in our stuff, is you can actually go down so much that you're not going to get out of it that day because it's so bad, right? You might get out of it, but there's a decent chance that you won't. Now, the cool side is that if you have a bad one, you go to sleep, you wake back up at neutral. But the unfortunate side is also that if you're here, you wake back up here. It's so crazy, right? And so a lot of our guys, they're like, why can't I just be up here all the time? And I often wonder if the brain actually doesn't have enough neurotransmitters to hold us at that level without maybe sleeping for 8 hours to regenerate some of the serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, whatever is responsible for that. I'm not even clear on that. It could be that. It could be like an energetic thing, like you're just inhabiting a lot of present energy. It could be just the way that the universe made it to where it's like, look, here's the deal. Like if it's really bad, you go to sleep, you'll feel better. If it's really good, you'll go to sleep, you'll feel, okay, right? So I don't know, but it's kind of funny. Like it'd be amazing if you could just keep going up and up and up, and just like your whole life was just like, it's my house, right? And so we're all working to get there. I don't know, maybe we'll get there someday. Maybe you're there.
The story to take your ass to bed. Right?
Yeah. Well, do you feel that over time that you inhabit that space more and more, even when you're not because a lot of guys ask this. This is kind of funny, right? A lot of our guys will ask, okay, so I feel like the zone I get into, it's amazing, it's addictive, it's the reason they stay in it. Like that's what they're hooked on. It's not even to meet girls so much, it's that you get hooked on being that guy. So just like what you described, that's why I think this is going to be like really like the most relatable interview that you've done, I bet. It's just highly relatable. So a lot of guys will say, well, could I be that guy all the time? Right. So what I feel like it's like, in my experience, is kind of like levels. Yeah. So it's like, let's say that back in the day, I was like, that was my average and I could get up to here. Over time, it kind of keeps going up. Like, you know what I mean? Like my standard level goes up, but I've never seen it to where I'm this all the time. Frankly, when I wake up in the morning, I'm kind of like, that's just...
It's almost like the opposite of, like a narcotic effect or caffeine or something, where it's like, it's constantly sort of dumbing you down, you know what I mean? It's lowering your baseline,
so you're saying like with caffeine where it helps you temporarily...
Right.
But then without it, you're lower?
Right, so with caffeine, like, it'll help you temporarily, but when it brings you down, after constant usage, it brings you down further than you were, And so they say, like, ultimately, like, you have to take the same amount of caffeine just to get back up to where you used to get back to naturally, without the caffeine, right? So
I try to explain this to my ex all the time. Yeah. She loves caffeine. Yeah. And I'm like, baby, just just go off it for like 3 weeks, and then you just have like a little sip of green tea, and you'll be like, and she's like, I don't want to go off it.
And it's the same with anything. I mean, even exercise. I mean, even the good stuff, like they want you to change, your muscle memory. Your muscle memorizes the way that you exercise, and you have to keep switching your muscle up, keep switching your exercise up so that you trick your muscles to be able to build in different ways, right? So I think the body is that's just the way it's designed. I mean, it's the brilliance of the design of the body. And so I think that is true with the positive side of it. You can start training yourself. People that are avid learners, people that are into growth and personal development, that are constantly finding new ways to hack themselves and grow themselves, I think you are raising that baseline. It still doesn't stop you from being a human being. And we're always going to have ups and downs. And, then life's going to constantly shit on us and then give us amazing moments. And so we're going to have times when you can be that guy and be in your maximum sort of confidence level when you're in these situations, but you're still going to have real life happening around you, and real life is going to be tugging at you in all kinds of ways that will continue to pull your baseline in different directions. I think the difference is, one of the things I say about being in the inspiration business, say for example, is that we have a ridiculously strong inner cheerleader. Like our cheerleader is super strong, So I can sit back in a situation that would have taken me out before I'd maybe done all this growth and development and so forth, and it would have taken me way back down. Now I have something where, whatever, I don't know, some heartbreak or a bad sale, a launch goes bad or something like that, and, the cheerleader's like, okay, so you're down? You feeling kind of sad? You feeling a little crappy? You want to cry? Okay. I'll tell you what. Go ahead and eat your ice cream and sit in bed all day and watch, binge watch whatever you need to watch on Netflix. You got one day. Tomorrow, you're going to get your ass up. And you're going to, all these speeches that you give to the world, you're going to give them to yourself. All these messages that you tell to these cameras into the world, you're going to tell them to yourself. Everything that you know, now you have to execute for yourself, and you know it. It's already in you. So lucky for you, you've got the one person you need, which is you. So tomorrow, get your ass up. And I'm going to give you one day today. And that's like when you have that inner cheerleader, like that day gets shorter and shorter. It used to be, I'm going to give you a year. You know what I mean? Now it's, I'm going to give you a month. And then after a while, it gets to be like, I'm going to give you a day. And then you're going to go to bed, recalibrate, and we're back at it.
That's very powerful. I like what you said too, because I've studied a lot of I like what you said too, because I've studied a lot of Eastern philosophy in my life, and one of the things that always bothered me about it was this concept of enlightenment. And for me, that bothered me because I felt like it had a very Hollywood-esque kind of thing of like this happily ever after, like, you know, it's just, you're just enlightened now, just like, and it's like there's not going to be any ups and downs.
Right.
Whereas to me, the way I think about it is more like what you said, where it's like you'll stay present to what's happening, and you may not like it, but you can accept it. And maybe you're not going to identify with the inner voice as much and give the negativity as much life and get dragged around by it as much. Yeah. But you're still going to have the ups and downs. And I don't know if I'd even want to be alive if it was just like,
that's right.
you know,
exactly.
At that point, you're not even alive. I mean, at that point, you're just like in heaven or something. I mean, at that point, you just kill yourself now, just go to heaven. And like,
I mean, you only, you know, it's like you only know hot because you know cold. You only know joy because you know pain. Like you have to be able to have something to compare it to be able to create context.
Yeah, as long as I feel like, as long as you're learning, you know, as long as you're really getting the value out of it, what you're experiencing, and it's like a tree with roots, and the roots are deepening.
That's a choice. You know what I mean? Like learning from it is a conscious act. It's a choice. It's not, you can learn from everything that happens with you, or you can be victimized. You can, woe is me. You can, why is this happening? You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to train your brain to say there is a lesson in this somewhere, and I may know it right now. I may not know it for another month. I may not realize it until later or when I have kids or on my deathbed, but damn it, there is a lesson. And as long as I'm open to that mentality, then I know it's always a learning experience. It's always a growth experience. Some of them, you know, suck ass more than others. But at the end of the day, like there's always going to be something, you know, is the what doesn't kill me makes me stronger is the like annoying truth of the of life, you know, of existence.
The way I think about it for me is this, just how I conceptualize it, and it's very subjective, but the way I subjectively conceptualize it is like it's happening for you. It had to happen. You needed it to happen, but if you don't get the lesson and change, it's going to have to happen again and again and again, and you're going to be stuck on that level.
Yeah.
So because very rapidly everything happens for a reason, quickly becomes don't change anything.
Right.
You know, I had once, you know, a few years ago, this ex who was just constantly just picking fights all the time. You know, and I'm just kind of chill. She's picking fights. We end up breaking up. And then, you know, she's like, well, this all happened for a reason, right? And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, baby, like, you got to get the lesson, you know, right? Like, yo, like I'm super chill. Exactly. Just take the lesson here. Yeah. So, you know, and I don't know if she did. And I felt a sorrow for her in that moment, because I was like, I don't think she got the lesson. I think this everything happened for a reason thing. It was very like, you're just at the effect of everything. You're not at the cause. You're just the effect. So why even care? And just let it happen. And it's like, yo, you're at the effect. The point is to take the lesson. Yeah. I'll take my lessons too. Yeah. And then, you know, we move forward from there. So it's amazing. Like a lot of these things, like people often, they look for the surface level truth, like be yourself, or it'll happen for a reason, or things like that. And I feel like they're true, but then there's also a nuance to them that if you don't understand, it can push you in this direction that's not serving you.
Yeah. There's one of the hooks to one of my more popular pieces. That's the chorus that I sing is, "Oh, lesson, where are you? Come, show yourself before I do. Something that I'm sure you would have told me not to. I'm trying to learn you, but it's so hard to." You know what I mean? I think that's the truth of what we're talking about. You know.
Instead, I just do a Cartman voice from South Park, but you know.
Coach.
Yeah.
That's right.
I always thought it'd be really cool. That's why I like how he's doing presentations and singing and combining with rap. That if we could get more entertainment value of RSD seminars by having guys like you and Julian and all the instructors singing, rapping, or dancing, or just doing entertainment, some kind of higher entertainment value, because you're always talking about how to get more influence and more interesting things like this will kind of captivate the audience. And that's
I do it myself, because I always try to go 2% I try to go like 2%, 5% further every talk, every video, just something new. So like a lot of time, like people watching my stuff, they're like, well, why is he doing this now? Right? And it's like it or not, I'm trying something new. Yeah. Every single time I'm going to try something new, no matter what.
No. Yeah, I think, the reason why I created Poetic Voice as a speaking category was because I was frustrated with this mentality that you have the entertainer and then you have the speaker, right? You have the performance and then you have the content. And I in my speeches all the time, I tell the story of how I would go to these events and there would be speaker with cerebral content, valuable business content, followed by speaker, followed by speaker, followed by artist. Singer, songwriter, dancer, comedian, meant to like lift the spirits, get the hearts open to receive the information from the next speaker, followed by speaker, followed by speaker. And for me, the pivotal question was, if art is so powerful, right? If art can open us up, if art is so valuable, why is art used as the break from the content and not the vehicle for the content, right? And that was literally what made me go, well, I want to create an experience where you don't have to sacrifice the message, you don't have to sacrifice the content, you don't have to sacrifice that value, the cerebral value, the takeaways, if you will, for the experience that's created. So why can't the same experience that singer, comedian, dancer is giving you emotionally, let that be the vehicle for you to receive that content? It's the same way that you can use storytelling to deliver data, right? And you embed the data in the story in a way that is completely unrecognizable by your brain, but completely unmissable by your being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Have you read Peter Guber, Tell to Win?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the owner of the Warriors and all these other huge successful situations that he's in. So he basically says that human beings, we can't process things if it's just straight facts. Right. That we need stories. Like, and if you tell a story about it, then they're like, whoa, and they get pulled into it. Right. I also really like what you said here, because what you said is actually, funny enough, it's probably at least in my top 3, maybe my number 1 passion, maybe definitely my top 3 or 4, which is the idea that as a teacher, taking ownership of keeping the crowd engaged. And it was funny because when I first built Real Social Dynamics with Nick, I was at Queen's University and I was studying, I was taking philosophy. And as a kid, I would see these colleges with kind of like the stone wall. It kind of looks like a castle and there's ivy on it. And I would sort of walk by them. I'd be like, what's taught in there? Like, this is so cool. Like, what do they teach in there? And I never even thought I could get into college. But what wound up happening was, there was a whole series of events. But the point is, I wound up getting into whatever college I want. So in Canada, I went to Queen's University. And so I got there, and some of my teachers were really compelling. It was amazing. Others of my teachers, though, they were doing what some people call publish or perish, if you've ever heard of that. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that if you, it's like as a you're teaching some first year class, but really you're trying to get the prestige of having some published article. Yeah. So essentially, you're trying to publish your article, and then you're like, oh, this interruption to this first year class. Right. And you go up and you just read it, and then you're sitting there as a student, and you're kind of buying into the bullshit because you're like, well, it's this amazing teacher. I just must be dumb that this is so boring. It's just, wow, I'm just too dumb to get how fucking great this is. I know it's got to be amazing. We're inside of a stone castle building with ivy on the walls. It's prestigious. Everyone gave me props for getting here. This guy, I can't understand it, so it just must be past my intellectual capacity. And then there's that whole analogy of the emperor has no clothes, which you might have heard of. Yep. And probably a lot of the stuff they're saying is really good. And I learned great stuff from those teachers, but then I went and started teaching, and what was funny was because we teach success with women, when a girl's out in a club, you could have the most brilliant woman in the world, accomplished, brilliant, everything. But if she's in a venue with her girls just trying to dance, maybe have some drinks, her attention span is not going to be the same as, when she's in her professional environment. It could be significantly shorter, and by significantly, I mean, whatever you think. So basically, we would have to learn. So, to say that delicately. So basically, what we'd have to learn was how to hold the attention of, say, maybe a girl walking up the street. And so you're engaging and you're building that skill set to hold it. And then all of a sudden you're in a group full of people who you're teaching in a seminar room. And when you start translating that to where you're holding their attention either through the flow that you're in or the cadence or the certain kind of punctuations on different things that you're saying, and all of a sudden they're glued to you. And then a lot of people, they would come up to me in tears and they'd say, Owen, I go to school, I can't pay attention to anything, I feel stupid, and this is the first time that I ever learned something, and I'm learning so much. And so I dropped out for a while from college, so then I went back, and then I went back to that publish or perish environment, and they're just like, rah, rah, rah. and I finished my undergrad, but I want to be a graduate student, and I think that was why I didn't want to go back. So what we do with RSD is we do the delivery. Then we try to make the videos in compelling environments, make the lighting look good. I try to cut anything dry right out of the video. I try to put real life interactions in the video so that it's not just me saying something, but imagine like if you're giving this talk and then it cuts to those speeches and then you're breaking it down. Right. So we try to do that. We try to put crazy jokes in it. I mean, this little weird, but I've gone as far as like rolling around on the ground and like spitting up water and just like anything. And it's because the way that I think of it is like, so you have the receptivity and it's like here, and then you need to open it up, and that's either with humor or cadence or something, whatever it is. And then you can flood in the information. But then if you're sticking with just too much factual, it kind of starts to close. Right. So as soon as I see that, I'm like, okay, wait. Rah! You know, and then they're like, Wah! Like that, and then I'm like, here we go.
That's right.
You get it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like in Stage Might, the concept that I find like so many people dealing with is that they want to be engaging, right? Then they view engagement as this one big thing that they're going to do. Like, just teach me the thing that makes me engaging, you know? And to your point, I always say engagement is not one big, meaningful act. It's 10, 20, 30, 50 small, incremental, cumulative moments of leaning in. And if you can create these small moments, and you do this by all those types of things that you're talking about, right? And so you do it with vocal inflection. And when someone starts speaking really low, what does it make you want to do? You kind of start leaning in. And if somebody is checking out and you speak loud, they check in. And so if you juxtapose those vocal energies, and then you juxtapose your body energy, you inject yourself through space every once in a while. They say speakers should plant their feet and then take a step and plant your feet. Take a step. Well, okay, well then you look like everybody else up there, but I don't plant my feet when I'm nervous. So if I'm pacing out of nervousness, well, that's bad. But if I'm telling you a story about being nervous, well, then pacing is very authentic. Or if I'm telling you about how I was on the phone trying to make $1 million deal happen, or trying to figure out how I was going to propose to my lady or whatever, then pacing is very authentic, right? So then you should be pacing. You should become that story. Inject yourself through space. Use your planes, your physical planes, right? I was just making a joke with Larry about how he was talking about, performers. We were just on Facebook Live, and he was talking about like, performers. I've seen, Bruno Mars just pump his hips, and the ladies go crazy or whatever. And I'm like, why is it that you think you can't do that in a speech? Like, I'm gonna introduce you to parts of your body that you have never met. I always say that I'm gonna introduce you, Nick, to your knees. You ain't never met your knees as a speaker. I promise you, because you will stand there and tell a story all day about how you had to come from the bottom and you had to climb up and up and up, but you will never go down. And you will never physically actually show yourself climbing up, right? In the same way that you would never fall if you were talking about falling. So I'm going to introduce you to the different planes that you can have, right? And proximity, creating proximity to your audience. Something happens when you begin to move a lot closer to people. Like something very weird happens, like when you get this close to people, right? So you're having an experience.
It's called an erection.
I
feel it too.
You have an experience that was very visceral, and you had an experience. There were two different experiences, but both of you guys were engaged. Yours was awkward, uncomfortable, and yours was like, that must be really awkward and uncomfortable for him. You know what I mean? So it's a vicarious experience that you're having. So you can create that with a room of 5,000 people. You can create that with millions of people in their homes, right? So you use all these different techniques. It's not just one big thing. You're constantly watching for that valve to open and close and saying, when it begins to close, I need to do something. Inject myself through space, eye contact, vocal inflection, anything that performers tend to use all the time, right? State changes. Somebody say, ho, put your cameras up. Let me see you guys. Turn to your person and say, everybody do this. Come on stage. Come dance with me. Like whatever it is, performers are using it all the time. Speakers tend to just go to content, and I'm going to have an engaging content, and I'm going to create one great moment, like everybody stand to your feet and turn to your neighbor and say this, and that was my engaging moment, and then we go, you know what I mean? And I feel like if you can think about engagement as just this series of small incremental moments that create leaning in, then your audience will never check out, because they'll just be here and then here, and you take them from here to here, and you take them from here to here, and you take them from here to here. And it's just that by the end of it, they're never ahead of you. You always stay ahead of them, and you end up with what you expect that engaging look on someone's face to be, which is, and then you cut it off. And that's how you leave them wanting more.
I think that's amazing. You know, I love the experience that I'm having right now, by the way. So we teach success with women, and there'll be naturals who will hear us explaining it, and it starts to mess them up because they're like, I've done this a long time, and I've just never heard it explained like that. Like, that's how I'm feeling right. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, he's in my mind. Get out. It's like incredible. Like, you know, so, you know, I want to learn like so much from you, and you know, it's funny too. Like this, I'm passionate about this because I feel that when people abdicate the responsibility to learn this, they make the audience feel, in some cases, feel dumb that they couldn't follow it. But to me, it's just, you fucked up. You know, it's like if you're a woman and your husband he sucks in bed, and then you can't come, and you're like, I must not work. I can't come. You know, it's like, no, your husband sucks. Right. And it's like, you know, so I used to feel that way sometimes, where I couldn't pay attention and I'd feel dumb. So I treat my crowd exactly how I would want to be treated. I make my videos what I'd want to watch. You know, and so I'm passionate about that. And then I'm passionate about the fact that if you can learn to engage with people, more people will learn, and it makes the world a better place. Yeah. And I think that the devices that I use particularly I actually go by how much I feel engaged. So it's like, if I feel engaged, like sometimes I start to tune out. Yeah. And then if I do that funny thing or whatever it is, I wake up. So, you know, it's funny, our buddy Julian, a lot of time he would do crazy stuff when he meets girls, and people would be like, is that your technique? And he's like, no, that's to keep me engaged. Yeah. Like, he'd say something totally crazy, but it would keep him engaged. Like, it snaps his brain, because he's like, whoa, holy shit. Right. And then he would actually stay engaged. So like, a lot of what I do, like, even like, we do so many different things in our seminars, and people will always speculate, like, why are we doing that? So much of why I'm doing it is so that I'll want to keep speaking. It's like, sorry guys, I don't want to sit here just going, blah, 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 blah. Maybe I want to make a crowd surf. Maybe I want to go cheer.
It's fun for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I got to entertain myself. I got to make myself happy up here, because when I'm happy and I feel like I'm killing it and I'm confident, then I'm open to making sure that you guys have a ball. Mm-hmm. But if I'm bored and I'm ready, I just can't wait to get to my hotel room, then you're going to feel that way. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. Yeah. In fact, I won't even speak without the cameras on most of the time, because this is just for myself, because I just find that once the cameras are on, I light up and I just do better. Yeah. So I'm like, guys, just wait for the cameras to come on. It's weird, like when the cameras aren't on, I'm like, it can be hard to get my brain to engage. I'm just like,
oh my God. And I'm that's how you know you're a born performer or born speaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's your natural habitat, right?
Well, yes, because when I know that as soon as I turn the cameras on, I'm going to speak to that 500 person crowd like it's a 200,000 person crowd, right? And now those 500 people, they're like, this is amazing how much energy he gave. Yeah. But they wouldn't think that if it was 200,000 people, right? Because they'd be like, it makes sense that he gave that much energy for the Super Bowl. Yeah. But the thing is, once those cameras are on, it is a Super Bowl. So even when I teach like in the field, like when I go to a bar or club, I want to be videotaped while I'm teaching, because when the cameras go off, my brain just starts being like, you know, like that. I'm like, get it on. Yeah. You have the camera on. Yeah, I call that distinction, is weird distinction. I call it personality versus DNA. So my personality, like who I am as a person, just wants to share. It doesn't really matter if the camera's on or not. I just want to share. But then there's that DNA part of you that your DNA, if you know what they say about it, they say that the DNA is very selfish. Now, you as a giving person, your spirit, your soul, your personality just wants to share. You know, wants to make the world better. And then your DNA is like, just get mine. Right. And so what I feel is that people shame other people for wanting something. You know, it's like you shouldn't want that. You should just be in your spirit and just be a giving person. But I feel like it's all about win-wins. Like, our DNA houses our spirit. It gives us life. So why are you going to tell your DNA, no, you shouldn't have that? Mm-hmm. Instead, what you do is you find a win-win. Like, you know, so for our stuff, say dating advice. Usually guys, they come into it and they're like, I just want something. Yeah. And we're like, okay, we'll help you get that. Yeah. But once you have that, then the fun really begins. Yeah. And now we're really going to start working. So it happens they can learn to be more successful with girls, but then what happens is all of a sudden they realize, wait a minute, when I'm more of a giving person, I offer more energy, because when I'm offering and I'm sharing, I perk up, I become funnier, I become more genuine, more sincere, more congruent. Oh my God, I'm better. And then now what you're doing is you're merging the selfish desire with the giving desire. And the way it's supposed to work is, if you went to that bar, you just made like 50 people that night had the best time. So many people, they're all high-fiving you. You're awesome. You're the best. It was so good meeting you. And the whole night's like that. There's a couple like really drunk people or just like really negative people or whatever that are like, like that. And you're like, it's okay. And usually other people start laughing at them. They're like, what's wrong with them? And you're like, and you're just having fun. And then you're engaged. And now what's happening is that you're finding the win-win. So to me, it's like I always try to find the win-win between what the person selfishly wants, but also in the giving side. And I feel like if you can get both, it's almost like it just shoots out, right? There's a part of my DNA that wants a couple 100,000 people to see my talk so I can benefit. But then, because then there's skin in the game, as they say. But then there's another part of me that doesn't care. I would want to just sit there with one person speaking passionately all night. And I've done that for years too. So, so to me, it's like, then I start to think to myself, well, I've got kids, I've got a staff, I want to build I want to be able to do an interview at a place like this. I want to do it on these cameras. I want people like yourself. I want to work with a guy like Nick, and so on and so forth. So it's like I'm always trying to find that win-win. I don't like it when parts of our biology are being shamed into saying you shouldn't want that, or that's wrong to want that. I'd rather, like, even someone with a huge ego that wants to have a yacht, okay, well then let's think of a way for you to get your yacht and to contribute value, as opposed to saying you shouldn't want the yacht, or you should be like just purely a philanthropist. I'm always just kind of looking for that, that win-win. Like I want that girl to have like, an amazing boyfriend who gives her multiple orgasms and like makes her feel safe and protected. Like, why is it bad that she wants that? But at the same time, can she become somebody who offers more value to attract a guy like that? And so I'm always looking at that on both sides, is how I think of it. But that's why for me, it's like with the teaching, I want to be an engaging, great teacher so that people feel like they're learning and they feel entertained and they feel like they've had a range of emotions, and then they can walk away with the message. And I do a lot of experiments, some hit, some don't, but at least I'm always trying, and then that keeps me engaged and continuing to learn it.
Yeah, I talk about the currency of purpose a lot. Because I believe very strongly in it, and just that, like, people have to be, when people are truly motivated, there's currency, there's our just legal tender, right? But then there's an added currency of purpose that people are actually paid in. When you think of, and teachers are a perfect example. If you think, a lifelong teacher, right? Somebody's been teaching for 20, 30, 40 years. My aunt is a highly revered, highly awarded principal who just retired after like 50 years or something as a principal and a teacher educator. And you go like, you're not rolling in the dough here. Like, you're not, the currency of money is clearly not the motivator. So there is a currency that you're being paid in that is just as valuable to you as money. So when you think about you receiving your paycheck, it's not just like, oh, I'm not getting paid enough, but there's all these other things outside of this that make me happy, and I can find my joy. You're saying there is something about this thing that I'm doing that is actually paying me in something that is greater and more meaningful to me than just money. So if I'm getting paid, $2,000, $3,000 a month as a teacher or whatever, I'm getting double that in that currency of youthfulness and the way that what it does to my spirit to be around these kids, or that currency of giving back, or whatever that currency is. Like, it is as viscerally valuable to me as if you took that away, it would be like taking away my rent money, And I think when we can begin to find ways to pay each other in that currency of purpose. If you're paying your team, I always ask my staff whenever I'm hiring anybody, what's your currency of purpose? What's your purpose currency? Like, what is it that I can pay you in? Because you're going to work. If you're working for me, if you're working for this company, like, this is a very service-oriented, entrepreneurial. We're grinding, we're over-delivering. It's a passion-based company. So if you're working for me, like, you're going to work harder than you're being paid. I work harder than I'm being paid, and I'm the damn boss. You know what I mean? And so, like, but I know that when I'm over-delivering, where am I? In the middle of the sky and the LA in the middle. I didn't plan on coming here and being here like right now, you know what I mean? Like, I got a wife at home that I'm texting saying, baby, I'm gonna be back. I gotta do this interview. I don't know where I am. It's foggy, I'm cold as shit, I'm black and I'm cold out here, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, what I'm doing. But you start realizing like that you surround yourself with good people, you put yourself in a passionate environment, you put yourself in a place where you thrive, and then you get out of your own way and it takes over. And that whatever that that purpose currency is for you, whatever that thing that's feeding you, that's fueling you, it becomes just as valuable as if you got top dollar for that thing. And if you can begin to find that in the people that you work with, and the people that you that benefit from, that you provide for, that you serve, then it doesn't become just about the win for others. You know, the win for yourself is a win for others. The win for others is a win for yourself. It's like one of my friends and colleagues and mentors, Lisa Nichols, talks about how you have to serve from your overflow. Like, you have to fill yourself up first so that you can serve from your overflow. And the problem is, as entrepreneurs and as grinders and hustlers, a lot of times we deplete our own supply, and then we're trying to serve the world.
By the way, this is the best video I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. No, there's so many things that I've tried to explain to my friends and to people who I work with and stuff like that they don't get. I'll give you a couple examples. I wanted you to keep going, but I'll just tell you okay, so I keep a wide range of friends around me. So some of my friends are the more spiritual woo-woo guys, right? And they kind of get off on being broke and just being very disengaged. Many of them actually kind of go with the secret thing, where they believe that if they just stay in a good mood, the money's just going to come. And they don't realize that's one part of the puzzle, right? It's a very powerful part.
Lisa Nichols, right?
Yeah, like I love the movie The Secret, but I'm scared to show it to some people because then they think they're going to manifest a parking spot. They're just going to get all this stuff. And I love The Secret. Like, it's so good.
And everybody in The Secret will tell you that's not how it works.
I know. And it's like, when I watch it, it was so inspiring. I was like, this is amazing. But there's just certain things, like there's this other one called the Enlightenment Trilogy by Jed McKenna, and it's amazing, but I can't recommend it to anybody because if you take it too seriously, you'll probably kill yourself, because he's completely nihilistic. He's just like, it doesn't matter, just let go. But so it's like there's these certain things that you can't. They're amazing if you can interpret them properly, but if you can't, you're in trouble. Another one's the Kabbalion. It's amazing, but it also talks about archangels. And so if you can't filter out the archangel part, you're fucked. And so
that's kind of like with everything. I mean, whether it's archangels or whether it's like, whatever, like a Malcolm Gladwell book or the Bible, like whatever it is, like you got to be able to filter for what is applicable to you and what's going to serve you.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I'll go on a different thread, then I'll jump back to that other one. I have what's called, I call it this that's cute filter. So I can read something and I can consider it, but then if I can see that it's too much within that person's bias and within their kind of subculture, that I'm not necessarily looking to dive deep into that subculture, but I just like the general ideas. I can sift out, even if it's 2/3 kind of bias in that subculture that I don't need to be getting, and I can take the 1/3. So sometimes I'll refer books or different resources to friends of mine, and they're immediately turned off. Like they're like, he said this. How could you be listening to this? Oh my God, And I'm like, I don't think he said that. Like, where did you get that? And they're like, look, it's here, and they're right. And I'm like, oh man, like there's this one guy, Eric Braverman. So he's an extreme Christian, and I think that's cool. And he teaches anti-aging. Okay, he's got a book called Younger You. It's amazing. And so he had this one interview on a Christian channel, and apparently about 2/3 of it was him making Christian statements. So a couple of my buddies who are not Christian, I showed them this video. I'm like, dude, this is anti-aging video. It's amazing. I'm like, you got to watch it. And they're like, are you going to church now, Owen? Like, did you convert? And I'm like, he doesn't talk about Christianity anywhere in there. It's anti-aging. And they're like, no, it doesn't. And I'm like, in no place does he say that. And sure enough, I rewatched this video, and about 2/3 of it was him relating to Christianity.
Right.
My
Every
brain.
time he says aging, he says our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ says anti-aging.
He basically did that. He called it like your temple, the temple of Christ. Like he was doing all this, and I will filter that so quickly that my brain erases it and just gets the value. Like I can skim it and I'm just like, value, like that. And so there's a lot of extreme people who I've learned from. Some of my best mentors, they'll make the most wild statements. And unfortunately, they're buried very deep in their subcultures, so they're not really being challenged. And so they'll drop things like, there's 10 dimensions and and my brain just quickly erases that. But my friends, I try to show it to them, and they're like, what's this 10 dimensions thing? What the fuck are you like? And I'm like, why are you focused on that part? Like, why don't you focus on this part? And they're unable to see that. So that's kind of a funny thing. What you said is so valuable to me also, though, because take my CMO Mikhail, for example. Okay, so he's always burnt out, always tired. And I'm like, Mikhail, pause. Do not attempt to do work until you have recharged. Don't even try. So like myself, what do? I'll go to places like, say, cryotherapy, where they freeze you in liquid nitrogen. It lowers inflammation. I sleep in a pitch black room. Everywhere that I go, I have my assistant take huge 50-liter garbage bag, 50-gallon, 50-liter, whatever it is, garbage bags, and take blue tape so that it doesn't wreck the paint on the wall. And they wall up the entire hotel so it's pitch black. So I've got a deep sleep. Then I wake up, I'll go to a sauna, sweating out toxins. Then I'll crank a green juice. Probably too much green juice. I eat really healthy, but I eat too much. But the point is, like, you know, I'll crank green juices. Then I'll do like turmeric, ginger, you know, different spices. I'll take Eastern herbs. I'll take supplements, a lot of, you know, berries, things like that. So, and then I do meditation. So, you know, I used to work with an energy coach even. So basically, like, I'm always just like removing the cortisol.
That's right.
Always removing the cortisol. Just keep removing. It's the yin and the yang. Keep flushing it. And guess what?
Awesome.
I haven't been sick in 5 years.
That's awesome.
Not even a fucking cold. I got sick for like an afternoon this one time, and then I knocked it out like quick. Like so what'll happen occasionally now, like every few years, I'll just start to like get like really sick for like an hour, and I'm like, the streak's ending. It's over, and gone.
That actually
it just
happened to me.
fixes it.
That actually happened to me this morning.
Really?
Where I felt like, you know, I felt like I was getting sick. I felt a little something in my throat or whatever. And I thought it was this morning or maybe late last night. And then I just, you know, like now I can notice it a lot quicker. I used to be like, it's probably nothing. I'm just going to go to bed, and then I wake up and I'm horrible, you know. And now it's like, you know, quick run to the you know, oil of oregano, and run to the you know,
black elderberry syrup.
That's right.
Any of that
that's
stuff.
Right. Run into that stuff. Pumping myself up with it, but also to our point about when you calibrate yourself for a much higher level and for a more optimal level, then it is easier. You know,
and you also have body awareness.
Yeah,
you can feel it. Most people can't feel it coming on.
And in the same way that cheerleader's telling you got one day, you know, it's also like your immune system saying, okay, Cole, you know, you're here. Well, I'm gonna give you 1 hour. You know what I mean? And now you're out. And so I think you're calibrated to a much more optimal performance now.
Yeah, and it's that most people are so disconnected from their body, they can't feel when it's coming on. Like, I can feel it coming on, so I go get out in the sun.
That's right.
Oh, maybe it's a vitamin D thing. That's massive, is the vitamin D thing. If you can't get sun, crank like 20,000, 30,000 IUs. I'm not allowed to give medical advice, but you know, just what I do, you know, and boom, it can fix it. Or some people believe that, I don't know if I believe this or not, like, I don't know if this falls under my filter this out mechanism, but some people believe that when you put your feet in the dirt, that it grounds you. I don't know, but the way that I see it, if I'm out in the sun anyway.
It works in the 10th dimension though.
Oh, okay. With the Archangel, you're grounded. Right. Yeah, but I always think, like, it's like, well, okay, I'll just put my feet in the dirt. Like, I'll just lay out in the sun, go sauna, anti-inflammation, relax. And the other really weird one I do is I go into, this is getting really weird, but I'll put myself in a light trance for about 7-8 hours if I feel myself getting sick. Kind of like meditation, but not quite as present. Just kind of just like lie there. And so my theory about getting sick, that's just my theory, is that my belief, it's just pure theory, speculating here, is that people think they get sick because they got a germ. What I think it is that your body's overtaxed. And so what's happening is your body will, my theory, just my theory, is that your body makes you get, say, a headache and feel like shit so that you'll lie there and don't move. So it's like a credit card debt, and it can catch up to all its functions. It's probably also detoxing with, like, you know, the fever and the snot and all this stuff. But basically, so if you recognize that you're about to get sick, if you just go, wait, oh, there it is, it's subtle. I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Just lie there. And some people even say take a vacation. I don't even want to do that, because then I got to get on a plane. I got to, like, move around. That's great for fun, but I'll just lie there in my room. Just lie there and just let it pass. Let it pass. Just keep the cortisol out. I won't even watch TV. I just chill. Maybe I'll go to like a bookstore, but stuff really chill, and I just keep lowering that like cortisol adrenaline. Whatever it is, it's kind of like that refrigerator hum of anxiety that may be so subtle you might not even realize is there. Yep. And I wait for it to go away, and then I'll go back to work. Now what I've seen happen with people I work with is they'll go so hard that they lose that body awareness, and they're in this constant state of stress. Now they're not realizing they're working at 40% capacity.
That's right.
And now what's happening is they're like, I gotta hustle, I gotta grind and hustle, you know, which I use those words too, but it's like, yeah, but bro, you're at 30% capacity, rationalizing that you're a hustler. Yeah. You need to take a day off, and don't make it like this like high stress day where, like, don't even go on a date where you're like, oh, I hope the date goes good. Like, just chill, clear it, and then get back to work full force. So are you a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk at all? Mm-hmm. My prediction is that'll be the area where he may later in life be like, oops, because he just goes, right? He just goes. So it's like the yin and the yang. He's more like yang. The other thing that you said that I like, though, now what was that other thing that you said that I really liked?
There's so much. I mean, honestly, it's just so much.
Oh, it was
It's just spewing.
But it was like, right? What was the other fucking? No, it was just so much good. Oh yes, okay. The other thing that I like that you said was the purpose as currency, and this is something I've struggled to explain to friends of mine. So some of my buddies are really purpose driven, but other ones, they're more like, I just want to win, and I have to explain to them what you're getting out of it, that purpose as currency that you're getting out of it. There's basically a look in the pupils that you get when you're aligned with that. And if you're in that zone, you can recognize it instantly in other people's pupils. You look in and you can see it. So I keep trying to tell these guys, I'm like, because I'll be talking about things that are pro offering value and things like that. And they're like, well, why would I do that? The point is to win. It's a hostile world. And I'm like, dude, like you can get all these material possessions and whatnot, but if you don't have that look in the pupil, then you're in pain. And so you think you're winning, but what you're doing is you're staying in pain, and then you're accumulating these wins around you while staying in pain to sort of pacify yourself and tell yourself a story that you're winning. Now, I believe, again, just for me, this is just where I'm at, the way I experience it, is that inner abundance should also manifest in external abundance. I don't like the idea of making an identity of staying broke as a sacrifice. I don't like that. I don't like to encourage people to stay broke. I want people to be successful. I want them to have skin in the game. Like I want our team to be well paid. I want them to have skin in the game. I even like it when people take a paid program with us over a free program. We do like so many free programs, so many free videos. But when someone pays, they pay attention.
That's right.
So I love that skin in the game side. I want people to be successful. I want them to have what they want. Not if it's like an ego thing where it's just like this like distorted ego and you don't even really need that. I don't necessarily want them to waste their lives trying to like create this cartoon. Yeah. But if it's things that I think could add value, I want them to have it. Yeah. But again, like that purpose as currency thing, like literally I will be making friends of mine sit down who don't understand me. They think I'm crazy. And like they'll see me like crying while teaching and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like what are you getting out of this? Like, are you okay? No. And they're not. So did you hear that from someone else or just a thought of your own or a bit of both or where did that?
Oh no, that's my own. That's my own. I think it's incredibly important because, like when you think about the win, it's like, well, okay, there's sort of three questions to that, right? I gotta win. Well, win what is the first question. Like, what are you really trying to win, right? The second question, I think you can go back and forth a little bit, but the second question is probably win why. Like, what is that? What's behind that, right? What's the reason why? I call it the sixth vow. Right, you gotta like always be in touch with your sixth vowel. It's not, A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y. It's A-E-I-O-U, always Y. Like you should always be in touch with that sixth vowel. And then, really, the third question I think that comes out of win why is win who, because more than likely, behind all of our whys is someone, and that someone a lot of times can be family. It can be our kids, it can be a loved one, it can be that parent, it can be your neighbor, it can be your community, whatever your cause, whatever's driving you, there's usually someone behind it. It can also be yourself, but I think a lot of times it's someone outside of ourselves that that we're seeking deeper connection with, deeper meaning with, a stronger relationship with, a better way to serve them, to help them outside of ourselves. And so I feel like when you start, we focus on the win, but if you look at the win what, then it forces you to go a little bit deeper. If you look at the win why, then you look at the purpose behind that win, and that ultimately leads you to the win who. And if you go back to your, the RSD principle in terms of, is it that you want the date? Is it that you want to go home with the girl? Or is it that you want the happiness that comes from that? And can you get the happiness without having the date and going home with the girl, right? And so I feel like that's really what you have to be asking yourself, and that's what is ultimately beneath the currency of purpose.
Mm-hmm. It's very powerful.
No, this is epic.
Yeah, our audience would really like all this stuff. I definitely want to learn a lot more from you. Where can we find your website? What's your program called? Like, I need to know this stuff so I can check it out.
RockstarSpeakerSecrets.com is the webinar that I'm doing. And I will just be pouring, it's a free webinar, and I'm just going to be pouring into people, giving a lot more techniques like this, really, the stuff that I talked about, communication calibrators, teaching people how to do that, body telling, own the room, like these techniques, just really pouring into that, and then giving people an opportunity if they want me to serve them more. Joining my program. There's the Stage Mic course is an e-course. I do one-on-one virtual VIP trainings with folks. I do group trainings, and then just inviting folks to just come join my tribe. SeikouAndrews.com, SEKOU Andrews.com. Yep. So come in that, join my tribe. Keep getting inspired. I'll keep sending videos and dropping jewels like the New Money video that you saw, or the Awesome Anthem.
Love it.
Just keep inspiring the audience, and then if there's a way that I can serve you, let me know. But I would love to have folks really join the rockstarspeakersecrets.com and let me help, make a dynamic communicator out of you, because it's what I love to do.
Great. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, man,
amazing.
Pleasure. Yeah, pleasure, definitely.
Yeah.
Cheers, and I appreciate all your help in that hip hop video too.
Absolutely. We're gonna get your street cred up.
Nick's street cred. Yeah. My street cred. Okay.
We're gonna do a rap battle.
Okay. Nick has his own channel, which features interviews just like this every single week. So I wanted to actually introduce you formally, my business partner, Nick. And Nick, could you share the name of your channel and what they could find on there?
Visit Nickco Official, youtube.com/Nickco, KHO Official. If you go to this channel every Monday and Thursday, there's going to be 2 shows. On Monday, there'll be a question and answer with me where you can actually ask me questions that I'll answer about any topic relating to business, relationships, networking, and also behind the scenes and real social dynamics. And if you also check out my Thursday show, on my Thursday show, I'll interview everyone from millionaire, billionaire entrepreneurs, New York Times bestselling authors, YouTube celebrities, and RSD's best instructors. This is a chance for you to actually go deep in a lot of really interesting and fascinating concepts with the mastermind members that influence our board of directors, our board of advisors, and the success of our company.